Hello everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. Today is a short demo on how to add thick and thin variations to your line arts fairly quickly and then sort of build up on top of that. So as an example, here's something I've drawn digitally. You could also use some basic line arts that you've scanned in and maybe separated the lines. You're going to want the lines separated. If you don't know how to do that, I have another video on how to separate your line art. Please check that out. But very quickly, I will show you here. This is from my enslaved cover art. This is some basic lines I've drawn with a 4-pixel brush. Now I want to add some variation to the line art. So using the Control-Click option, I'm going to control and select the lines. Right here it says forms. Make sure his feet are selected too. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And then there's a window in Photoshop called Paths. If you go to Window, click over here to Path, you'll be able to select it. And then from there, when I'm in the Path window, I'm going to click this little dialog, this little drop menu, this little arrow here, and click Make Work Path. Now it's going to ask me for a tolerance. I recommend somewhere between 1.2 and 2.0, depending on how wobbly you want the lines. That's really just a personal preference. Also, I will recommend that you have your file saved before you do this, because sometimes if you don't have enough RAM, Photoshop can crash when it's making the work path. So I'm going to click 2.0, that's fine, and click OK. And then what it's doing is taking my selection and it's basically auto-pathing the lines. It's with the special tolerance. So this is a path, a vector path right here around all the line arts, and it's got a little bit of fluctuation in the tolerance. So the higher the number, the more fluctuation in the line arts. Now I want to fill this path with black. So all you have to do is in the path window, you see this right here? This means I'm going to fill the path with my foreground color. And since my foreground color is already set to black, I'm just going to click that. And it's going to fill all those little paths. Let's give it a second. And then I want to off click here so I can see my lines. So this is Photoshop doing all the work for me right now. Let me just turn the layer on and off so you can see the difference. See? I got some nice variation in the line art already. And I didn't have to go and manually do all that stuff. Now it's a little much in some areas. So what I'll generally do after this is I'll like manually just go in here and erase it out. Like I definitely like the eyes and face area. I like to have those lines a little thinner for my preference. Maybe some of these hair areas really quickly in the center. And then what I do from here is I'll do more of that as I go along. Is from here I will create a new layer, and this is where it can get a little tedious. Is I will with my oil brush or with any kind of flat. This is just a Photoshop flat oil brush. I just set it up to about a size 20, 25, depending on the resolution. So it's set to 30. And then I can come in here and manually add some nice thick and thin. And you could just create this yourself pretty easily using a hard brush and flattening out the size and everything else. I'll have a link set up to my brushes, so you can just use the Rob oil if you'd like, if you don't want to make your own. It's not really that big a deal. And so that part takes a little bit of time, but the initial work is done for you. And when you're all done, it will look something like this. So this is me just going through and manually doing that across the whole piece. It takes about an hour sometimes, maybe 2. If you're not in the mood, then you can see this is that auto pathing. So I've already deleted the areas I don't want with the auto path, and it's giving me a nice, clean, thick and thin feel to the line art without having to do much. This also works on simpler line arts. It doesn't have to be all complex like this. Let me give you another example. Come over here to my Ninja Gaiden line arts. Now this I kind of already did a little bit of auto pathing, but I can add a little bit more and it's fine. So I'm going to separate the line arts here using my action script. So the line arts are separated, right? And then I'm going to control click, create a new layer, go over to my path and make a new work path 2.0. And then I'm going to fill that and off click it. And from here, I would just go in and, like I said, delete some of the little areas. I don't like a lot of thick and thin in the face. It can kind of muddy it up a little bit. But you can definitely see, like, it has a nice, you can see the fluctuation. It has a nice little thick and thin feel to it. And in areas that would take you forever to go and manually do. So I would come here and delete some of this. And again, this is all personal preference. So this is a pretty helpful tool. I've learned that if you don't like to do a lot of thick and thin with your own inks, you could just draw something pretty simply with one line width, a contour line, scan it in, set it up, do an auto path, and then do some extra thick and thin digitally in Photoshop, kind of around the edges and stuff. And that's it. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I will answer them below. And feel free to download my brushes and use them to your creative content. That's it. Talk to you later. Bye.